Zero.
Let's go. How are you doing, Mark?
Thanks God it's Friday, man.
Hello to everybody. Welcome. This is the first Masterclass Basics that we're hosting this year, and we're very excited to present you some of the learnings that we have learned by hitting our heads to the wall many times before. The experience actually makes you better. Will also help you to decrease the cost of running your clay workflows, the time that you need to get results, and of course get results after all. So that's kind of the goal here. So the title of this edition in particular is Everything You Need to Know to Get Started with Clay. It's really ambitious. All right. So probably each of you have different questions. Drop it in the chat. I will be happy to address them. We'll be happy to help you understand how you can use Clays for your purposes. So as Mark was saying, happy that it's Friday as well. Happy that you're here to enjoy this session together. What do you think about this topic, Mark? I think this is really interesting.
Yeah, and it generates lots of interest, I would say. We're 17 in the room, but we're expecting even more people. So, yeah, it's one of the most popular workshop topics. And we're happy to do it again and again every 2-3 months. So here we are.
All right. We have been testing new tools that Clay has released in the last few months as well. They are growing really fast. They are deploying features every week. It's crazy. But we're happy to help you and give you some hints about what features are useful and what are. Let's start. For the ones that don't know who we are, with Marcos, we are owners and founders of Automate RevOps. We focus on helping and enable sales and marketing teams to use Clay, use automations tools to increase their pipeline, achieve their goals, hit their quota. And we have helped a lot of companies in the last few years since we have started using Clay through our coaching program. And now we're also helping companies through our Done For You services as well. So during this process, we have learned a lot about how to create systems, and we have grown a community as well. So if you want to join our community and you're not in the community there yet, here you're going to find a link. You can click on that link and join our Slack community. In that community, we share thoughts, we share knowledge, we share invitations, and so on. If you have any questions, we address it in that community as well. So first question for you guys. How many of you have opened Clay but didn't know where to start? I mean, we were there. So happy to hear your thoughts about it. If you are there, if you have recently started to using Clay or you have been using Clay for more than a year, and even now you don't know what you're doing, that's possible as well. So don't feel embarrassed. Just ask us any question that you have. Drop it in the chat. Let us know in which stage are you so we can help you as well. We have been working with Mark in an audit as well that we're about to launch. I think that's going to be useful for you guys as well to kind of understand where you are in the Clay implementation roadmap. I mean, if you're just using Clay for getting emails up to having a centralized system. And this is a really interesting topic, a hot topic we have been discussing about if the new MCPs that can connect into Clay and can be connected into many other tools will replace Clay at all or not. We have some thoughts about it. We have been discussing it, but my opinion on it is that probably you can solve a lot of particular issues, like we call it side quest. Like I don't want to enrich one lead. I want to send a lead to a campaign, like direct actions. But if you want to have a centralized system, we're not seeing like a better solution to centralize everything, have a system that tracks who is aware of your brand, reach out to them on time, and get you better results. Okay, we have a comment on the chat. David, I struggle a bit on getting started. Yeah, I mean, it's really challenging, can be overwhelming to start using Clay. All right, so
The white canvas with 150 plus integrations. Yeah. That's good.
it's really challenging. I know. So that's why our promise for you today is you're gonna learn the Clay basics, fundamentals, to know how to use the tool. We're gonna share with you a 45-minute tutorial after this workshop as well, in which I show you how to use each of the fundamental tools of the platform. So after this workshop, you will be able to actually use it and get some results of it. So let's talk about Clay. You can define Clay as a database, as an enrichment solution, as a centralized system. There are many ways that you can use Clay for not only capturing leads, scoring leads, you can connect your CRM, you can sequence messages. Right now, Clay is also integrated into Smartly to send cold emails from Clay. They have just released a new function to send leads to ads campaigns like Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads. I mean, it's crazy how fast it's developing the platform, and probably by the end of the year, we won't recognize what's possible. Here are some actions that you can do in Clay. You can find leads anywhere, any type of lead with any specification that you need. Let's say we want someone that is aware of a brand. So in that case, you can scrape people that are reacting to your content, people that are following you, people that have visited your website, people that have leave you a comment, people that have been part of our newsletter, workshops, and so on. And based on that, you can create your own qualification process to capture the hottest leads as possible. And you can export that data back into a sequence, into a dialer to call them, and so on. So there are many use cases that Clay can help you with. So that's why I put in this title, RevOps Swiss Army Knife, because you can use it for many, many things. So, of course, most of you know Clay as an enrichment solution because their waterfall and AI integration is really, really powerful, and it can help you automate tasks that takes you 70% of your reps, can actually recover that time so you can invest it into actually engage with those leads. You can, for instance, even replace content creation tasks and decrease the time that you are spending into creating content and get better results. So many actions that you can do in Clay. Across all them, we know that if you free up your time that you're investing into this highly data intensive work and start automating them, you're going to be able to increase the total pipeline that you have and get better results. So that's why we use Clay. But what can you use Clay for? As I was mentioning to you, you can use Clay for sourcing, and Clay has a lot of different possibilities to source companies, leads, but also triggers, signals, and you can connect Clay to your CRM to enrich the current leads, connect Clay to Appify, you can connect Clay to any type of source that is external, like a newsletter or whatever. And also you can use Clay to enrich a CSV that you have from a list of events attendees, for instance. So the sourcing part is a really important part because, as you know, garbage in, garbage out. So it's very important to nail the sourcing if you want to create a system in Clay. Once you have the data set in a Clay table, you will be able to enrich and process the data using more than 150 enrichment solutions that have a native integration with Clay. That means that you don't need to subscribe to each of those integrations to use it in Clay. Instead of using each of those, you're going to use Clay credits. That is a system that you bought in advance credits, and then Clay use the credits against those platforms. So for bigger companies, it's really useful because you don't need to check the security for each of those enrichments. You don't need to get the buy-in of any manager of yours to get all those enrichment solutions. Just by buying Clay, you will be able to access a lot of different enrichment solutions in it. It's like a marketplace. But also, once you enrich that data, you will like to process that data for different use cases. One is qualifying data, and the other is processing data. Let's say I want to source a list of companies. From the list of companies, I can enrich the revenue. We can enrich the size in terms of employees, the firmographics as as how many locations they have in each state, for instance. And we can also extract the technographics of that company. And based on that, you can create a system that score each company based on your criteria, or you can use an AI to grab all that data and, for instance, create a fully automated copy to send through a cold email to those companies. So the processing part is really important as well. And then the last part is integrating that with any tool that you have. Could be CRM, could be sequencing tools like SmartLead for cold email, HeyRich for LinkedIn, Get Sales. Could be, we had a nice conversation 2 weeks ago with Extrovert founder, Oleg. So you can also connect Clay to tools like Extrovert as well.
We are
So,
launching a tool soon. Maybe it's good time to mention. We are launching what it was an internal solution for us. We developed a workflow to filter out profiles that are not active on LinkedIn. So then our acceptance rates and reply rates go like 20% plus higher than normal. And it was a great solution for us. Now we're launching it to the public, launching it to the market on an Apify actor that is natively integrated in Clay, so you could easily use it as well.
of course, that's a great product because it's really easy. I mean, it's really simple to understand the meaning of it. That is, as you are validating emails before sending into a sequence, you need to be verifying that LinkedIn accounts are active before sending to a sequence. So it's the same kind of situation, but in this case, we check against the activity of that profile. So you're able to know if it is actually active or not. Gonna be releasing that product really soon, so stay tuned with us. Today, we're gonna create together a workflow. I can show you how you can use Clay for lead generation, in this case, workflow. So you can capture leads, you can qualify leads using Clay in this case, using OpenAI as well. And we're gonna use one of the coolest integrations in Clay, that is the email enrichment waterfall. So I did not hear all the tools that you're going to use for that waterfall, because in the waterfall you can set up a lot of tools, but you name it. Could be Prospeo, ICPs, Datagma, and Apollo, and so on. So, all right, if we want to find a list of CFOs in the US and you want to do it manually, you will need to find those companies maybe through a LinkedIn search, LinkedIn Sales Navigator search, an Apollo search, or any other database to find those companies. But what do you will struggle on is how to define a startup, because you can find like industries to filter. You can find also size to filter, founded date, but that doesn't tell you if it is a technological startup, or it is just a new company, it's a traditional company, a brick and mortar type of company. So it's really difficult to know if a company is a startup or not. So that's why in those situations, we can use Clay to grab that list of companies and use the full context of that company. I mean, industry in LinkedIn, description as well. And you can also research their website to actually understand if that startup, if it is a startup or not. So that's why we're going to use OpenAI in this case. Once we qualify the company based on if they are a startup or not, we're going to find CFOs. The same process here. Once you find it, probably you will need to qualify them. So in this table, we're going to check that as well. And last but really important, we're going to find their business email to send it to a campaign. So quick note here to understand the tool. In Clay, you're going to see dashboards. Inside a dashboard, once you open the dashboard, you're going to see a workbook. Inside a workbook, you're going to see tables. And inside tables, you're going to see views. Let me show you how it looks like in Clay so you can understand the meaning of it. I'm in the first dashboard. You're gonna see in Clay that is the home page in here. In here, you're gonna see a list of all the folders, all the tables, workspace that you have. I'm gonna zoom in a bit. It's better now. Okay, so here you're gonna see different tables and files and so on. And you have here on top of it what they are calling it the new solution in Clay. That is the AI layer on Clay that can help you to speed up the process of table creations by giving you the capability to ask the AI in natural language what you want to achieve, and it will help you bring it to life. Okay? We have tested it with Marcos like a month ago. And we had realized that for people that haven't used Clay before, this is really useful because it's gonna guide you through on how to build a list. Once you start using Clay and you get comfortable with it, you're gonna see that there are some use cases that are not the best use cases for it. I mean, for instance, if you want to scrape certain data points and you know that the best enrichment solution is this one, might be that this AI will suggest you another one that is not the best one. So once you get comfortable with Clay, you will notice that it will be not as useful as once you are starting. Anyways, I would suggest you to test it because it's really useful. But if you want to start from scratch, you're gonna see here all the folders and tables. And if you click on new, you're gonna see that you have the capability to create a workbook. That, as I told you, is where you're gonna host the projects that you're gonna have on Clay. So think of it as a spreadsheet, okay? A Google spreadsheet in which you're gonna have more than one sheet in each of those. So in this case, it's related to tables. So a workbook, you can name the workbook as you like. Let's call it Master Clay Basics. And in here, you're gonna find all the possible inputs that you can start a table from. So there are many sources that you can start with. Today, we're going to use the find companies, but as you notice, you have the capability to find jobs, find people directly. You can also integrate Clay with your website to capture web intent, website visitors, capture signals like new hires, imported from a CSV, connected to Salesforce, HubSpot, and so on. Once you select the option, in this case, it's find companies, you're going to see that all the filters that probably you have on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Search, Apollo, Lucia, and so on, it's going to be replicated in here, mostly because Clay grabs the data from LinkedIn. All right. So you're going to have here the industries that are the same industries that you have on LinkedIn to find those companies. And if I want to find startups, probably you can use industries like software development, of course, mobile, computing software, mobile gaming, for instance. We have another one that's software security products. We can also use embedded software products. And there are many other industries that might be relevant to find those startups. But let's keep with those, and then we can create a qualification layer on the table itself. The other important part here that we want to add to find startups is if we want a startup to be between in a seed level or a series A, probably you will realize that they have an average company size. If you're targeting companies that are ahead of that, series B, C, D, and so on, probably you're going to find bigger companies. So it's up to you what you're looking for. Probably if you are looking for a company that have a budget to invest in something, it will be between 11 employees to 1,000 employees. But it could be even more segmented to your needs. Okay, another cool filter is revenue. In here, you can also check the revenue. Clay doesn't have the revenue enrichment for all of the companies, but for the ones that have it, you can use it for. So let's say I want 5 million to 10 million yearly revenue. You can see here that the volume goes to 15,000 companies, but in the if I remove that, we have 237,000. So it's a lot. The difference is really big, and that's because the annual revenue, you don't have it for all the companies. Funding is also interesting. You can also set up to find companies using the funding. The same concept applies here. Probably you don't have the funding for all of them, so it will narrow down the amount of companies a lot. But let's say 5,000 companies is enough for us. If they have base funding, probably they are a startup or more near to be a startup. Now, you have in the filters here the possibility to use also AI filters. This will try to understand the industry using other type of industry categories that you don't have on LinkedIn. And you have here also sub-industries that are really more precise. Apart from that, you have revenue streams and you have also business types. So let's say I want to target B2B startups. In that case, you're going to select B2B, and that's fine. Now you can click on continue, import it to a new table, and you're going to see that it's going to create a new table for you, Clay. And once you have it in this table, you will have all the columns that might be important for you. In some cases, there are hidden data that is not mapped as a column, but you can also add it to the column. For instance, in here, we have data points like we have business type that is not here, but if we add it, it's going to be here. Business stage can be also relevant. We have the company description in here, but we don't have the offerings. Maybe we can use offerings as well. So if we click on take action on list, and you have the option to create a column with items separated by commas, if you have an array of items like this one, different items that are primary offering. If you click on it, you're going to see that Clays create a column for you that unifies all the values in here. Okay, so since we have the data, we can also map annual revenue. That might be important. For these cases, we have the annual revenue because we have filtered down by funding. So probably we should also have that data in here. So you can access to a lot of data set, and this run is included in your Clay plan. So you don't have to pay extra for it. And that's the amazing part of these fine companies or fine people functioning. All right, so now that we have all this data set, probably would like to really check which of those companies are startups and which aren't startups. So a quick way of checking that out is using the AI column. So in order to understand what we're doing, you have in Clay enrichment columns, you have sourcing columns, and you have also structured columns like this one that are coming from a dataset that was already enriched. This one is a sourcing column in which if you want to change the source, you can click on edit input and you're gonna go back into the filtering that we just did. Here you're gonna find one column that is fixed and is capturing one value from that sourcing column. But also you can create formula columns like this one that is gonna be able to, you can use AI actually to create your own formulas, but it's gonna be able to process the data that you have in the table as you were in a Google spreadsheets, for instance. So you can process the data in a structured way. You can use the data to craft, for instance, qualification processes, to craft cold email blogs, or even you can use this to create really specific data points that you need, like formatting data in a way that you can use it in another enrichment solution. So right now, you're gonna see here in this the table itself. In the table, as I told you before, you have also views. A view that you can see here in the views is a configuration of columns, rows, filters, and the sorting that you decide. to use in this view in particular. So in the columns, you can check out how many columns you want to see from across the table. So if I don't want to see like the domain, I just click on it and it's gonna be off. I mean, it's gonna be hidden for you. The same for rows, but in this case, you can hide the rows based on the numbers. So let's say I want to see only 10 rows, I click on it, and now Clay will show me only 10 rows of the 3,900 rows that I have in the table. And the last part is the filtering and sorting. In the filtering, you can add any filter as you like in any column. For example, we can select country, and then equals to United States. So that will filter down all the companies that are in the States, and you're gonna see all the companies that are in the States. The sorting works the same, but instead of selecting a way to filter down, it's a way to order them. So you can select, for instance, annual revenue and select from top to end. So you have order the companies based on the annual revenue. And that's going to be recorded in that view in particular. If you create a new view, you can change the view to and remove, for instance, the filtering and create another or sorting. And now that view is going to change the way that you see the table. So this is really important once you are building the table, once you are working with the table, because you can create different views for the purpose that you need. For instance, you can create one view to qualified leads. So you see only the job title, for instance, or the company of that lead, but you don't load the full columns. You can create another filtering, another view to see only qualified companies. So you only reach those companies, or you only find leads from those qualified companies, or you can create filters to see different type of companies depending on the qualification and so on. So a view is a really important part of the clay table, and you need to know how to use it to make it more comfortable for you to build on clay. Now let's talk about settings in the table. You're gonna see here that says auto run. That means that the table is running any enrichment column that you have here. So if you add a new row on this table and you have an enrichment column, this will run automatically. That means that you're gonna be wasting grades if you don't have control of the enrichment columns that you have created. That's why it's really important once you are just creating a new workbook, a new process in Clay, to go here, click on settings, and turn off the auto update until you are really confident with the result. Once you're confident with the result and you want the table to run automatically, you can turn it on again. The other feature that is really important to know that exists and is really useful is the rerun columns on a schedule. That helps you to select the columns, the enrichment columns that you would like to refresh the data and run it on the frequency that you like. For instance, in here, we don't have any enrichment columns yet, but once we have any enrichment column, we will be able to select it and select also the frequency here to run this enrichment again. The other important part is the auto dedupe function that will help you to avoid enriching the same database again. I mean, the same company, the same lead, the same trigger over again and again if you have found the same ID from a different source, for instance. So in that case, you should select here, it will be on by default once you create a table, but you can select here which is the ID that you want to dedupe this table on. So I'm going to recommend you for companies, use LinkedIn companies or domain of the companies. For leads, for people, use LinkedIn URL, or you can use also their emails or names if you like. The same applies for triggers. Let's say you're capturing job posts. Then you should dedupe the post based on the URL that they were posted on. All right, so that's another important part. The last part here of the setting is that you can also share this template, this table as a template. So that means that you can create like a full process and then templatize it and use it for any other purpose in the future. So that's a really, really interesting feature that will help you to outgrow and scale your operations.
I would love to get some feedback from the crowd in terms of how basic you feel this is, or if this is all new for you, so we have an idea on the level of proficiency that we should put into these presentations. But just curious about your feedback so far, if you're expecting something more complex, but we'll get there.
Of course.
Awesome.
Pretty good
Sometimes
for
we do really
basics.
complex stuff, and this particular event is meant for like the newbies. So if it's too basic for you, then maybe you should come to the other ones. But yeah, we'll get more complex as David continues.
Of course. Let me know if you don't understand anything or you want to acknowledge what I'm doing in the table as well. Happy to guide you through it. All right. So once you are here on the table, there is an interesting thing that you're gonna see here is that you can create new tables in the same workbook. And if you click on overview, you're gonna see all the connections between the sources, like the find companies filtering that we created, and each table. And once we have set up the find leads, you're gonna see also a connection between this table that has companies and the table that will have leads. So this is really important to know because I have seen a lot of companies using Clay only to enrich one specific data set. And that's great. It's really useful and probably going to have like a really positive ROI of it. But you can also use Clay as a system. So in order to think of it as a system, you need to understand how to connect different databases. So if you want to find leads, let's say I want to find leads for that company in particular, and you can find like 3 or 4 leads in the same company, you cannot deduplicate the data if you are hosting the same leads in the same table. That's why you need to send it to another table that will have their unique ID to deduplicate that specific value that it's going to be, for instance, for leads, LinkedIn URL or email. And you are able to also connect the company with each lead. And once you enrich the company, you enrich it in the company table. And as a waterfall, that enriched data is going to be brought back to all the leads that work for that company. So this is really important to understand as well the difference between a table and a workbook or a system itself. All right, we have checked about the fixed columns. Now we're gonna create the first enrichment columns. And I have shown you as well this formula column that if you click on use AI, you will also be able to craft your own formula columns using natural language. So for instance, I can ask the AI to output true only if, and here I can select size is between 11 and 50. Let me check this out. Why it's formatting I should create a new one just in case. If you want to create a new one, you just go to add columns or you select one column and you can insert it to the right. So in this case, formula, you can type here output true, for instance, if size, and you type slash to map any column. So in this case, size is equal to 1 to, I think it's 1 to 10. And now it was 11 to 50, yeah. Now this is going to translate that natural language into a Clay script formula. That is similar to a JavaScript formula, but Clay has its own language, okay? So once you select output is correct, this is going to create a new column that's going to check for the amount of employees if they have between 150, maybe we don't have it, okay, here we are. If they have between 11 and 50, it's going to check the box automatically, okay? Now, the next step for us is going to be to create an enrichment columns. So in order to check if this company is a startup, we can use AI here, and we can define here, read the full information that I have from this company here, and we can map all the data set that we have from the company that Clay brought us back to us by clicking on insert all items, and also research their website and you have here the domain and output true if this company is a tech startup. So once you determine the output and determine what you want the prompt to do, you can click on generate, and this is really a useful feature because it's going to translate your needs into a really want to say professional prompt that use all the techniques that a prompt engineer would use, like creating the step-by-step process on how to achieve that, creating input examples, output examples, giving you restrictions to the systems, and also be really specific or what to get. So you're gonna have here the full prompt. You can check the prompt if you like to review anything. And once you agree with it, you can check also the output format. In this case, it's going to check the box if it is a tech startup. And here it's going to output me another column with the decision basis. I mean, why it chose this company as a startup. So these run settings is the other important part of an enrichment column that, as I told you before, you have a toggle to turn on the table or turn it off. You have also these toggles for each enrichment columns. So you can have more control over the system and don't waste credits on something that you are not comfortable with it yet. So if I leave it on, that means that if the table is on and I add another row, this enrichment will run automatically. If the table is off, it won't run unless you click on it. Now, if this auto update is off, even if the table is on, this column won't run. So you have control over the system. And the other part is only run if. And this is the condition that you can set up for the table to actually let them know when you should enrich that data and when you should avoid enriching that data. For instance, if you have already that data, you should avoid enriching them. In this case, we don't have the data of any of those companies. But as an example, I can tell the prompt here only run if, for instance, type is privately held. Privately held, yeah. Sorry. So that's the clay script for fit. And now, as you can see here and in the example output, the first one that is a privately held will run. For the other one that it says self-owned, it won't run. So we can also save that formula. And that is another system that you can create to create your own filtering inside the table. Now, in this case, you can use your own create credits to run it, or you can select also another model like GPT-4o Mini and connect your own API key. So that will decrease the cost of running that integration by 20x almost. So I will suggest you, if you are a newbie in Clay, to create a new API token in OpenAI, grab it and click on Add Account, paste the API key here, upgrade your OpenAI account to tier number 3. That will require you to invest $100 to buy credits on OpenAI. And once you have it, you can connect it and use your own tokens. So let me show you how it looks like when it runs. Now you have this enrichment column that's going to send an AI scraper into their website, analyze also the data that we have here from that data set, process all that data, and return you a decision that is if that is a tech startup or not. So here we have the first results. We have the reasoning. If you click on it, you have the decision basis. If it is a tech startup, you have also the cost that costs you to run this. So in this case, the cost of running it using my own API key was less than 1 cent. I mean, it was 0.2 cents. So that makes it really, really effective, really efficient to scale it up. So let's say we want to run it for another, we agree with the result. You can choose here to run another batch of 100 companies starting from the 11. And now you're going to be able to run it. So I have shown you how the credits work. I mean, you can use create credits or you can connect your API key and save money. And I have shown you the auto dedupe, run settings, and table status. We have find the list of companies. We're now checking if they are startups or not. We might find some of them that are not startups, but like this one, for instance. But since this case in particular was really filtered down through the funding, probably we won't find too many companies that are not startups. Now you can create here a new filter if you click on that that column that filters and check the box if they are a startup. And this is gonna select the column for you, and you can select if it's checked. So now you are seeing only the qualified companies in here. The next step is gonna need to find the CFOs. So in here, if you go to actions, click on sources, you can create a new table based on this table. And this is really useful because now we have created a filter to see only the qualified companies. And we can use those qualified companies to find people that are working for those companies. So if I click on sources here, you're gonna find this option that says find people at these companies. So if I click on it, you're gonna see a new filter that lets you select same filters but for people. In this case, you can select the job title. We want CFOs, Chief Financial Officer, and we can also select here the location that we would like to have those. Let's keep it blank because we have already qualified the companies. And if you keep scrolling down, you're gonna see here companies, and this is already set up to find leads that are working for the companies that you have on that table and in that view in particular. All right, so this is going to be really useful to know because if you set up a different filter, it might be that you're selecting another filter with companies that are not qualified, and then you can mess up the qualification process. Anyways, you can also exclude people that you have in other tables and so on. And once you agree with the leads, you can click on continue and import to a new table. And this is going to create a new table in the same workbook with those CFOs. So that's the next step here. If you want to manually do it, you will need to find those through LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Now we have a really precise list of leads that are CFO working for tech startups in the US. And step 4 is going to be finding those emails. So if you want to do it manually, you can be jumping with one tool to another to find those emails, and probably you won't have like 100% discovery rate, but also there's a high chances that the emails that you get from one provider are not going to be valid. So you need to send those emails to a validator tool, and for the emails that you don't have validated, send it to another tool to find more emails and so on. So instead of doing that, on Clay, you have this cool function that is called the waterfall enrichment. And if you click on actions, you're going to find it really useful in here that says work email. If you click on it, you can check here on full configuration that you have a lot of different email finding providers that you can reorder. You can select them. You can delete the ones that you don't like. You can connect the API key to the ones that you have already subscription to decrease the cost of running it. So let's say I want to run Prospeo, ICP, Diagma first, and as a fallback, I don't want any of those. I want to run full enrich, for instance. Full enrich with instead of using my integration, I want to use script crates because it's a fallback of this waterfall. So what this means is that Clay will look for the emails in the first provider. Then it's going to verify their email through this validation provider. I'm going to select debounce because I have debounce. So if debounce tells Clay that this email is not valid, it's going to run the second email provider, and so on until you get the verified email. If you don't get it, at the end of it, you're going to have an empty cell, but most of the cases, and it won't charge you anything, but most of the cases you're going to find an email. So that will increase the coverage, the discovery rate, but also decrease the cost of running it because you don't need to subscribe to all the tools. You just need to subscribe to the tools that you trust the most. So now I have set it up. I can click on save and run, and this will create a lot of new columns for me. As you are seeing here, it had created 8 columns, but you're just seeing one of those. If you click on this toggle here, you're gonna see all the columns, and now you're gonna see that Prospero runs for this case didn't find the email, debounce skip to validate because it didn't find the email. So ICP tried to find the email, didn't find it. The Ragma finds the email, debounce validated, and now we have the output email here. The same for the other emails, and for this batch of 10 leads, we have 9 emails and now 10. 10 out of 10. That's great. I mean, that's not usual, but it's a great discovery rate. So now you have a list of leads ready to push into a sequence tools, and you are ready to engage with those leads. You can qualify leads using different processes. We have orchestrated different tools, and it took us 20 minutes to find those leads. That if you have to do it manually, probably would took you more than 2 hours. So that's why this is really useful. I mean, we are really bullish with Clay because we trust that investing into Clay is a no-brainer. I mean, you will recover your investment in a few months for sure. So you're gonna save time. You're gonna increase your conversion rates. Of course, you're gonna be able to scale up your operations. So there are 2 paths. Of course, you can keep doing what you're doing, or you can become a Clay automation expert. So if you need help in that process, we'll be happy to provide you a strategy call so we can address, check, and assess what you're currently doing and create a roadmap for you so we can understand what could be the main benefit for you. Or if you want to learn how to implement Clay, we have also a coaching program in which we guide you through the basics of Clay, and also you can create a Clay workflow end to end that could drive you more leads to your company or to your current freelance gig. Okay. Any questions?
55. 5 minutes for questions. Thank you for staying until the end. We're exchanging messages through your presentation. Some people giving
Awesome.
feedback that it was too easy. So next time we're gonna do it really hard.
Of course, we can make it harder. You can check out also our YouTube channel in which we have a lot of previous workshops in which we cover more complex topics. Let us know which topic are you interested into knowing. We know that probably most people want to know about triggers, CRM activation. What other topic do you think, Marcos, it's trending right now? Share
Well,
step by step.
I mean, I don't know if it's trending, but having outside of the box motions, like not necessarily the typical outbound motion, because many people think of Clay as an automation tool for outbound campaigns when they integrate their outbound campaigns from SmartLead, let's say backward, but we use it for multiple other use cases. For example, one I like a lot that generates the hottest leads for us is the one that routes leads that click on the booking link of our newsletters that are also a semi-automated process that we feed from a framework that we follow and is developed on Clay. And that's something like it is more related to a conversion mechanism for inbound leads, and it's not necessarily outbound. And I am fascinated about those types of like examples.
Yeah. Cold calling activation, getting their number, sending to the dialer. Yeah, that's really, really powerful. We have been seeing a lot of good results in the last month with those workflows as well. So, yeah, that's a good topic. We have a question from Andres. Can you share step by step for dummies? Yeah, I'm gonna share with you actually after this workshop the recording and as well a video that I created, a step by step guide for dummies, how to use Clay and how to use their functions. So I'm gonna share that with you as well. How much would you say costs 1K lead list created with this processing clay? We can check it out. I mean, in this case, we have qualified companies. So this process in that we have used to qualify based on the AI column costs us 0.2 cent. So it's 0.2 cent. Probably if you're targeting one specific role like CFO, I mean, I don't think companies will have more than one CFO. So even you won't find all the CFO of all the companies. So probably you will need to enrich 1,500 companies to get that amount of companies needed. Oh, okay. I need to go to the calculator. I'm missing Chrome. I had an issue with Chrome. It's not working my computer. Okay, so 5. So you will need to invest $3 on qualifying companies, and then to enrich their emails, it's an average of 1.5 cent per email. So and in this case we have 100% discovery rate, but this is not usual. Maybe you have 80% discovery rate, so you'll need to have an extra 20%. So let's say you have 10 cents. In this case, it's gonna be, let's use that calculator. It's really weird. 10 cent, sorry, not 10 cent. It's 1 cent and a half. And we need, so that would be another $18 to find their emails, maybe $2 more to verify them. So that's gonna be the cost for 1K following this process. It depends on the qualification process. Could be different. If you want to get our type of data, it could be more expensive. Could be also leaner and cheaper using our processes as well. So hope you find it useful. Hope you get a lot of insights from this workshop. As you know, we're going to be hosting another one really soon, probably in 2 weeks. And we're going to be talking about triggers. So stay tuned, and you're going to receive the invitation or recording really soon. All right, Mark, it was a great session.
Fun one.
See
Thank you
you.
so much. Enjoy the weekend. Bye bye.